Deep underground, there's a dangerous place called the Forbidden Labyrinth. It's a tricky dungeon that only the strongest adventurers, known as S-rank adventurers, dare to explore. Once you go in, getting out becomes impossible, and people call it the Abyss. Not long ago, a group of adventurers called Future Plan was getting ready for a risky adventure into the Forbidden Labyrinth. They were all skilled S-ranked adventurers, led by a guy named Godach. However, Godach was unhappy with their new team member, Kraha, because she wasn't doing her job well. Jur, a new swordsman in the group, stood up for Kraha. This made Godach really angry. He thought Jur wasn't following orders, especially when facing the most challenging labyrinth in the whole country. Even though Godach was upset, he decided to let it go. But he warned Jur that once they entered the labyrinth, he had to follow every order. Kraha, the new member, thanked Jur for supporting her. After finishing all the preparations, the party finally started their journey into the mysterious and dangerous labyrinth. As Kraha and Jur traveled in the carriage, she chatted eagerly with him. She was super excited to learn some skills from the famous successor of a great sword school. She had also heard the thrilling story from Godach about Jur slaying a dragon. Nervously, Jur shared the details of how he helped his master defeat the dragon. Even though the carriage shook, he brushed it off, saying he still had a long way to go. Kraha giggled, finding it amazing that he didn't even flinch during the bumpy ride. Summoning her courage, Kraha asked the big question that had been on her mind since she first saw Jur. How could she get stronger? Jur was a bit surprised, not expecting this sudden question. Kraha explained that she had been fascinated by heroic tales since she was a child, dreaming of becoming a brave hero like the ones in those amazing stories. Jur shared some wisdom with Kraha, letting her know that being an adventurer wasn't just about staying alive, it was about facing and defeating monsters. Kraha got a bit frustrated and clenched her fists. She told Jur that nobody seemed willing to teach her. When she joined the group, they talked about training to improve, but all they taught her was to observe, and if she couldn't, then to give up. In response, Jur decided to take on the mentor role and presented Kraha with a hypothetical situation. He asked what she would do if attacked by wild dogs or other monsters. Kraha's initial instinct was to confront them directly, but Jur, the experienced mentor, gently shifted her perspective. He talked about the strategic advantage of setting up traps and avoiding a direct clash. While it might seem a bit sneaky, Jur emphasized that in battle, there are no rules. You've got to use every card you have, no matter how small. Each card, no matter how insignificant it seemed, could be useful in the right situation. The total value of your cards, including training, experience, and knowledge, is what makes you strong. In short, it's about building up your skills and know-how. Kraha thought Jur was all about theories, but he corrected her, calling himself a quibbler. Jur admitted he talked a big game but didn't have a ton of cards in his hand. His main skill was swordsmanship. However, he shared his weaknesses too, like his poor eyesight. Not just that, but he got cursed by the dragon he fought. Now, only physical enhancements worked on him. Kraha's eyes widened with fear as Jur revealed an even bigger challenge. He was under a more massive curse. His sense of direction was terrible. If he ever went into the labyrinth by himself, he might never find his way out. Also, if he lost his glasses, it would be game over. With this heavy truth, Jur gave Kraha his spare glasses to keep safe, just in case he got lost without them. The carriage suddenly stopped, indicating the party's arrival at their destination right before entering the labyrinth. Sensing the upcoming challenge, Jur offered to teach Kraha a versatile combat skill. He modestly admitted he wasn't a big deal with apprenticeships or secret sword arts, just basic sword fighting. Kraha eagerly took the chance, grabbing Jur's hand and bowing deeply. It might be a small promise, but it meant the world to her. Little did they know, trouble was on the horizon. Just 2 hours into the labyrinth, Jur found himself alone, glasses shattered, and darkness closing in. The adventure took an unexpected and dangerous turn, leaving the once confident party facing an uncertain fate in the depths of the abyss. Deep within the labyrinth, an unexpected twist of fate unfolded. The labyrinth raid had been going smoothly, thanks to the hard work of the support team that carefully mapped out a viable route. It was a dangerous journey, and no one, not even the highly skilled S-rank adventurers, had been able to progress beyond the dreaded 3rd level. The main unit skillfully handled any opposition, paving the way for their group to forge ahead. However, the real challenge lay in the abyss, a labyrinth so treacherous that once someone entered, they would never see the sky again. The true trouble began when they confronted the boss on the 3rd floor. These bosses were formidable creatures infused with magic from the labyrinth itself. Unlike the common monsters, they awaited in chambers called boss chambers. Most bosses could be avoided, but the 3rd floor's chamber posed an exception. Following their planned strategy, Jur, the main defender, bravely led the charge. The tactic aimed at diverting the boss's attention to a single person, in this case, Jur himself. Skilled with the sword, he accepted his role, knowing it meant enduring the enemy's attacks, which proved beneficial for his physical training. However, the lack of backup support became evident, prompting Jur to check behind him. To his surprise, their leader, Godach, was infusing his powerful demon sword, Vanish, with an excessive amount of mana. It was a calculated decision considering the boss's strength, but a twist of fate placed Jur within range of the leader's attack. The result was swift and chaotic, a flash of dark energy followed by an explosion that tore a hole in the labyrinth's foundation. Jur fell into the abyss alongside the boss, which now seemed intent on attacking him. Determined, he fought the boss and managed to defeat it. However, as he looked up and realized how far he had fallen, escaping the abyss seemed impossible. In the present moment, Jur harbors deep resentment towards Godach for the current predicament, and despite Godach's intentions, the reasons behind his aggressive move remain unclear to Jur. He wonders if it's linked to their earlier dispute. Fueled by a strong desire for payback, Jur screams in frustration and panic. He plans to confront Godach once he escapes the labyrinth, but for now, his priority is seeking help. Jur considers reaching out to his companions, like Kraha, hoping others with a moral sense would extend assistance. Imagining they'd lower a rope to pull him up, he believes their support might help him escape the abyss and fulfill his vow to avenge Godach. Staring at the daunting ceiling, he knows he must call for help first, reminding himself to stay calm. Looking up at the hole in the ceiling, Jur screams for help, only to hear creepy and ominous sounds. This makes him nervous, but he finds comfort in the assurance of his intact glasses, lifting them high in the air with pride. He knows his glasses are crucial, without which he wouldn't be able to carry on. However, his sense of solace is abruptly shattered as the sound of a crack reaches him, and the glasses break into pieces. Standing there in shock, he contemplates his impending demise. Godach and Kraha engaged in a deep conversation about a tragic incident that had occurred. Kraha, concerned, asked Godach about his plans for Jur, questioning if he intended to leave their comrade behind. Carefully assessing the situation, Godach realized that if the third-floor boss could withstand the unleashed power of his demon sword, continuing the fight might be too risky, and a retreat was necessary from the dangerous situation. Pressing him further, Kraha suggested that he might have intentionally caused the misfortune. She couldn't understand how a skilled swordsman like him wouldn't notice that Jur was evenly matched with the floor boss. The act of unleashing his demon sword in such circumstances seemed odd to her. This accusation prompted a stern response from Godach. In anger, he grabbed Kraha by her neck and slammed her against the wall. Witnessing Kraha struggle to breathe, Godach let her go, and she fell to the ground. Godach inquired about Kraha's next move and labeled her as a useless support member with too much audacity. He even threatened to report her to the guild for attacking a fellow member from behind, mentioning that it might result in criminal charges. Moreover, he reminded her that she remained liable for any injuries caused within the labyrinth due to negligence, and her actions could lead to the revocation of her adventurer registration. When Kraha pointed out that there were witnesses to the incident, Godach questioned the silence of the others. No one came to her defense, and he claimed that she had imagined the entire incident, dismissing her as baseless and a troublemaker. Godach instructed Kraha not to bother him, signaling the party's withdrawal from the labyrinth. Kraha felt disheartened by her inability to make a difference in this situation. Overwhelmed with guilt for not being able to save Jur, Kraha collapsed on the ground, feeling numb. Another party member, Holland, noticed her distress and rushed to her side, helping her regain her composure. Urging her to leave, he warned that staying behind could lead to her swift demise. Questioning why everyone sided with Godach, Kraha turned to Holland for answers. He explained that Godach held immense authority, and that their party was the only S-rank party in the country. Their livelihoods depended on this status, and going against Godach could jeopardize their ability to venture into the labyrinth. Despite these discouragements, Kraha remained determined to return, even if she had to venture alone. Holland advised against it, emphasizing the danger she would face. He believed that Kraha lacked the strength to effect any change. Despite her sadness and frustration, Kraha couldn't deny the harsh reality of being an adventurer. She understood that this wasn't the first time she had faced such a situation, and it wouldn't be the last. In the midst of her emotional turmoil, Kraha started to cry uncontrollably due to her perceived inability. Holland, in an attempt to console her, patted her head and tried to calm her down. He reassured her that, for now, all she could do was learn from the experience. Returning to the party's lodgings, Kraha found herself confronted with a difficult decision. She didn't want to stay affiliated with a party like the one she was in, but her strong desire to descend into the abyss, perhaps to rescue Jur, weighed heavily on her. Kraha understood that severing ties with the party would put her future plans in peril. Despite her reservations, she chose to stay and endure the challenging circumstances. 3 months passed, and during her daily run, Kraha found herself standing outside the imposing entrance of the labyrinth. Making it a routine to run all the way to the abyss entrance, she remained determined to bring Jur back, even if it was just a small fragment of him. On this particular day, she noticed large carriages parked outside the labyrinth. To her surprise, Holy Knights, a unit directly under the church's control, were present. Their presence raised questions about what had occurred inside the labyrinth. Holy Knights were typically involved in sealing fallen kings, so this was an unusual sight. Among the Holy Knights, Kraha spotted a girl holding a staff. Some referred to her as a saint, but the girl urged not to use that title, claiming it didn't suit her. Kraha gazed upon the Holy Knights stationed outside the labyrinth, and amidst their ranks, her eyes fell upon a saintly girl. Contemplating whether to confide in the saint girl regarding the uncertainty surrounding Jur's survival, Kraha found herself in a moment of deep reflection. Despite the nagging doubts that clouded her thoughts, she refused to succumb to despair. Realizing the intrinsic value even a seemingly insignificant support member could possess, Kraha pushed aside the words of Godach, who had dismissed her as nothing more than a good-for-nothing support member. In that pivotal moment, Kraha drew inspiration from Jur's wise counsel about understanding one's cards in the game of life. Motivated by an intense desire to bring back her dear friend, Kraha made a firm resolution to undergo a transformative journey, and to do whatever was necessary to rescue him, and she walked towards the saint girl. In the depths of the labyrinth, Jur found himself entangled in a fierce encounter with wolf monsters. Braving the challenges, he devised an unconventional method, scaling over the creatures and defeating them with nothing but the strength of his jaws, devoid of any weapons. Jur, now a self-proclaimed caveman, had weathered 3 arduous months since the disaster struck. Pushing himself to the brink, he teetered on the edge of his mental limits, subsisting on the unappealing cave pond fishes that became his reluctant companions. As he sat in his makeshift camp, contemplating his predicament, Jur couldn't help but acknowledge the resilience he had displayed, deserving praise for enduring the harsh conditions without succumbing to insanity. During one such moment, while savoring a fish he had caught, an unexpected discovery awaited him, a crystal nestled within the fish. The brief excitement that coursed through him was overshadowed by the looming fear of losing his sanity. In an attempt to share his find, Jur fashioned a rock into a makeshift imaginary godach, presenting the crystal with a childlike enthusiasm. However, the overpowering wave of anxiety and the fear of descending into madness compelled him to cast the crystal aside, bringing him back to his senses. Contemplating the possibility that insanity might have taken hold, Jur clung to a thread of hope. He believed that ascending would eventually lead him to the surface, determined to bid farewell to his imaginary nemesis, Godach the Rock. With resolve in his voice, Jur conveyed to the rock that their paths would diverge for a while, but he anticipated a reunion on the surface, this time with the real Godach. Leaving behind his camp, Jur embarked on his upward journey, recollecting a book he had read long ago. The book discussed 2 kinds of people with a poor sense of direction. The first type, he recalled, were labeled as idiots who disregarded any doubts they might harbor. These individuals continued along improbable paths, unfazed by whether or not it was the wrong way. Jur found resonance with the second type, the faint-hearted, who, even when on the right path, would fearfully second-guess themselves, leading to a labyrinth of backtrackings and meanderings until they found themselves hopelessly lost. Reflecting on his training days with his master, Jur remembered how voicing his doubts subjected him to his master's biting humor and snide comments, a bitter consequence of seeking clarification. Fearing that succumbing to his faint-heartedness would only deepen his disorientation, Jur halted in uncertainty, questioning whether he was ascending or descending. Contemplating the risk of becoming foolhardy, blindly stepping into traps without caution, he decided to push these thoughts aside and continue walking. However, fate had other plans. With each step, it became evident that Jur embodied the foolhardy type. Without a hint of caution, he inadvertently triggered a trap switch. A massive wave surged towards him, catching him off guard, leaving him shocked and frozen in its path. The water engulfed him, tumbling him along until, miraculously, he managed to cling to the surface and take a breath of relief as the water subsided. Drenched and disoriented, Jur sensed a presence ahead. Suspicious of a possible monster using a lure, he braced himself. To his surprise, it was a real person, the same girl from outside the labyrinth whom Kraha had encountered. Despite losing his glasses and unable to see her clearly, Jur was astonished that a human, not a monster, awaited him. Considering the common occurrence of monsters at the conclusion of elaborate traps, a wave of relief swept over him at the sight of a genuine person. Unable to see her clearly without his glasses, Jur explained his predicament to the saintly girl. In response, she smiled and held up her fingers, asking Jur how many she was holding. Jur, giving the wrong answer due to his impaired vision, made the saint girl realize that he was genuinely in a tough spot all this time. Remaining skeptical that humans don't await at the end of elaborate traps, Jur clung to his intuition, convinced that there might still be a lurking monster. His suspicions proved correct when the puddle beneath them began to bubble, and a colossal crab-like monster emerged before their eyes. Unaware of the impending danger, the saint girl remained oblivious. Reacting swiftly, Jur unsheathed his sword, employing his secret sword arts skill, Moon Dream. In a single, masterful stroke, he vanquished the monster. The saint girl, now aware of the peril she narrowly escaped, expressed her amazement, praising Jur for his incredible feat. Filled with excitement and gratitude, Jur rushed toward the saint girl, seizing her hand. Tears of joy welled up in his eyes as the realization set in. He was not alone, and the figure in front of him was indeed a real person. The saint girl, touched by the moment, simply smiled in response to Jur's overwhelming emotions. Jur walked up to the saint girl, who was seated on a puddle of water. The saint girl was touching the ground under the puddle, and she exclaimed, "This is it." She told Jur to feel it, as then he would understand what she meant. With curiosity, Jur reached down and felt the ground. The saint girl explained that there was a groove on the floor, and upon feeling it, she suggested it might be a magic circle. Jur, a simple swordsman, found himself perplexed by this discovery. The saint girl realized that she had been brought to that spot by the people of the church, transported there by the magic circle. Jur was surprised to learn that she had ventured through the depths of the labyrinth alone. His curiosity piqued, he inquired if she was attempting to conquer the labyrinth. Taking hold of her shoulder, Jur began to tear up as he expressed understanding for the feeling of being stabbed in the back by friends while fighting the floor boss. However, the saint girl appeared confused and responded that this wasn't the case. The saint girl explained that she must have triggered the teleportation trap, recalling her knowledge of such traps from adventure novels she had read before. She recounted how the holy knights, her companions, had dutifully escorted her to the 4th floor, a feat no one had accomplished before. However, she began to feel sluggish, realizing that she was the only one who had stepped on the trap. Confused by the mention of holy knights, Jur asked if the saint girl wasn't an adventurer. With a hesitant smile, she decided to reveal the truth, assuring Jur that it should be fine. She disclosed that she came to the labyrinth not as an adventurer but to investigate it. The saint girl explained that the church leaders had sensed an ominous aura in the area about 3 months ago. At that time, she didn't notice it because she was lying in bed with a stomachache from eating too much lunch. Jur, puzzled by this revelation, questioned her eating habits, as her figure didn't seem to match someone who eats excessively. Feeling like a stray dog on a rainy day, Jur suggested that the saint girl, being affiliated with the church, might possess sanitation magic and asked her to use it to clean him up. The saint girl smiled and playfully commented on his odor, likening it to sludge from a drainage ditch. Annoyed, Jur insisted she was exaggerating, but the saint girl insisted he smelled exactly like a drainage ditch. With a wave of her magic, she assured Jur not to worry, explaining that anyone would start to smell that way after wandering around in such a place for too long. Now squeaky clean and glowing, Jur felt grateful for meeting the saint girl just in time. He realized he might have lost his mind and gone completely feral, attacking her without hesitation if he had continued in that state. Expressing his gratitude for her assistance, Jur thanked her, feeling completely refreshed. He ran around happily, akin to a newborn baby. Suddenly, the saint girl stopped him and inquired about his eyes, suspecting a curse since he wasn't wearing his glasses. Jur assured the saint girl that he wasn't trying to hide anything and suggested she needn't worry about the curse since he had an idea on how to break it. Expressing amazement at her ability to use sanitation magic and recognize curses, Jur commended her skills. The saint girl, smiling with embarrassment, returned the compliment, mentioning how impressive Jur was. She acknowledged his prowess in defeating a unique crab monster with just a single strike, suggesting he might even be stronger than the holy knights. Confusion crossed the saint girl's face when Jur suddenly placed his hand on his sword, preparing to unsheath it. Jur noticed 2 monsters behind the saint girl, ready to attack, prompting him to rush towards them and dispatch them with a single strike. Smiling, Jur proposed settling down and chatting in a safe zone he knew, just a short walk away. Despite Jur being familiar with the location, His poor sense of direction turned what should have been a brief journey into hours, leaving their legs numb and bodies tired. In embarrassment, Jur apologized to the Saint Girl for the unexpected delay. Finally, Jur and the Saint Girl, Lily, settled down near the camp, formally introducing themselves. Lily, a member of the church, encouraged Jur to call her Lily or Lee, even suggesting he could address her as Big Sis, proudly revealing she was over 20. Lily assured Jur there was no need for formality, expressing weariness of people being overly stiff around her. Although Jur, unable to see her face clearly due to his eyes, spoke about his situation, Lily already knew everything. Kraha, a short gray-haired girl, had informed Lily before they entered the labyrinth. Lily assured Jur that Kraha had asked her to take care of him, bringing tears of relief to his eyes as he was glad Kraha remembered him and requested Lily to bring him back, even if it was just a single bone. Jur then shared his story of being attacked by his own party members and the floor boss, uncertain of the party leader's intentions. Living as a caveman for a while, Jur was swept away by water one day, leading to his encounter with Lily. Expressing sadness for his situation, Lily promised to protest against the mean guy when they escaped. Jur updated her on his 3 months of progress in the labyrinth, working his way back to the surface. He optimistically mentioned that they should eventually make it out. Lily agreed but pointed out that it meant they had to keep climbing upwards. However, Jur expressed concern about the floor boss, admitting that he couldn't defeat it. Despite having discovered the path to the next floor, his progress was hindered by an imposing obstacle. Stranded on the same floor for many days, Jur faced an incredibly tough challenge. When he spoke to Lily, he shared that he had discovered a pathway leading to the next floor. However, this path was blocked by the formidable floor boss. Jur described how he found it difficult to identify any weak points in the boss, making it impossible for him to attack with his sword. Trying to force his way through posed the risk of breaking his sword. Jur went on to explain that the absence of his glasses further hindered his performance. He lamented the struggle to enhance his abilities without them. Lily, curious, asked if Jur was certain that having his glasses would guarantee success in defeating the monster. Jur admitted that while it might help, the real challenge lay in his lack of experience. Despite this, he expressed determination, mentioning that he had been training on this floor for quite some time. The environment, Jur noted, provided an ideal training ground. The presence of a nearby watering hole meant he didn't have to struggle to find water for drinking. In essence, this floor became a perfect place for Jur to hone his skills, even in the face of the formidable floor boss. In a playful manner, Lily teasingly questioned whether Jur was as blind as a bat without his glasses. Picking up some nearby sludge, she humorously asked if he genuinely believed it to be a watering hole. Amidst laughter, Lily jokingly remarked that she might need to clean the insides of Jur's stomach later. As the realization dawned on him, Jur felt a sense of disturbance, holding his stomach at the thought of what he had been unknowingly drinking. Sitting up, Lily suggested they proceed to the boss chamber, but Jur, feeling suddenly unwell, hesitated. Lily, adopting a caring tone and referring to herself as Big Sis, offered her assistance. She playfully proposed transforming him into a real caveman, hinting at the use of an enhancement skill. Jur, somewhat skeptical, asked if this transformation would be achieved through a skill. Lily, with a smile, confirmed his suspicions, but Jur, remaining unconvinced, expressed his doubts about its effectiveness. Jur went on to clarify that he had been conserving his strength up until this point, emphasizing that the real challenge lay with his sword. He elaborated, expressing doubt that his current sword could withstand the force of his strength. Lily, utterly surprised, had believed Jur to be stronger than the Holy Knights due to his confident demeanor, making this revelation all the more shocking. Jur continued to explain that, regardless of the type of sword, slamming it into things with excessive force would lead to its shattering. To mitigate this risk, he preferred having a spare sword readily available. Jur disclosed that he had purchased the current sword without much consideration, merely as a backup in case his old one broke. He noted that finding the right place to strike the boss wouldn't be an issue if he had his glasses, and the true obstacle was the absence of his glasses. Lily, wanting to boost Jur's confidence, reassured him. Curious about the boss's resilience, she asked Jur how many hits it would take to defeat it. Jur, with unwavering confidence, asserted that a single well-executed blow would be sufficient. Lily, impressed, smiled and praised Jur's self-assurance. Drawing from his past encounters, Jur maintained the conviction that success was within reach. However, he acknowledged the downside. Even if he succeeded, his sword would be rendered useless. Feeling powerless and disappointed, Jur sat with his sword. Lily, showing her supportive nature, approached him. With a touch of her finger and the channeling of her magic, she promised a second swing as a bonus, a magic sword so potent that it would never break. Jer watched in shock as Lily cast a spell on the sword. However, she clarified that it wouldn't transform into the strongest holy sword but rather a faux holy sword. Amazed and grateful, Jer expressed his thanks, feeling indebted to Lily. In response, Lily playfully laughed at Jer's gratitude and jokingly asked if he was a knight from 300 years ago. She then smiled and instructed Jer to ensure that he killed the monster with just one swing of his newly enhanced sword. Embarking on their journey towards the boss chamber, Jer voiced his frustration over his inability to remember landmarks despite numerous visits. After 3 exhausting hours, they finally arrived and stood outside the boss chamber. Opening the door, they were met with the sight of a massive demonic beast with one eye and towering horns. Jer, determined, prepared for a frontal attack, although he actually had no clear idea of what lay in front of him. Charging at the monster, Lily stood in shock and exclaimed that it was the apocryphal nightmare. Undeterred, Jer swiftly dodged the monster's attack and unleashed his 8th sword Thunderbolt skill. In just one powerful strike, he obliterated the monster, leaving nothing but the echoes of his accomplishment. Despite the success, Jer humbly admitted the need for more practice, recognizing that mastery of his skills required further refinement. Jer sheathed his sword with a feeling of accomplishment after triumphing over the formidable boss. Despite this victory, an uneasiness lingered within him, and as he contemplated his performance, he suddenly heard applause emanating from behind. Turning around, Jer discovered Lily, wearing a bright smile and applauding him. Lily shared her observation that perhaps the sword coating was not as robust as anticipated. Jer, however, reassured her, expressing contentment with the outcome and revealing his surprise at successfully employing a technique for the first time, albeit at the cost of his sword. Lily's applause continued, and she admitted feeling nervous, fearing she might be perceived as someone who talks big but falls short in action. Jer gazed at Lily in admiration, realizing she was no ordinary person. He marveled at the potency of her enhancement spell, contemplating how a lone adherent of the church could wield such power. The idea that a priestess might be weaker than an archbishop or cardinal crossed his mind, yet Lily's capabilities defied this notion. Pondering further, Jer considered the difficulty someone as young as Lily faced in wielding such formidable spells. Although Lily had disclosed her age as 20 and appeared youthful, Jer entertained the thought that she might be an old and seasoned woman in reality. This idea seemed initially absurd to him, but over the past 3 months, his perspective had undergone a subtle transformation. Jer questioned his own intelligence, acknowledging that contemplating Lily in such a manner might be considered foolish. Despite this, something had shifted within him during the preceding months, prompting him to reconsider the possibilities surrounding Lily. Lily inquired if Jer was pondering the identity of the mysterious creature. Jer admitted that the silhouette remained blurry, and he hadn't quite discerned its nature. Perplexed, Jer questioned Lily's well-being, interrupting her thoughts as she entered a trance, contemplating various 4-legged creatures. Caught in her musings, Lily hesitated, and Jer's concern prompted her to snap out of the trance. She suggested, with uncertainty, that the creature might have been a horse due to its 4 legs. Satisfied with this explanation, Jer didn't press further, asking instead if they should continue their journey. As Lily deliberated whether to divulge the truth, Jer, seemingly indifferent, urged them to move forward. Lily, suppressing the urge to speak, eagerly pointed towards a nearby door, asking if it led to their destination. However, Jer halted her excitement, confessing his lack of directional prowess and expressing uncertainty about the door's destination on this floor. In a moment of despair, Jer conceded that if Lily suspected they were on the wrong path, he wanted her to inform him. Lily, approaching Jer and holding his hands, reassured him, expressing that it was all right and suggested they make decisions together as they ventured forward. Lily earnestly urged Jer to rely on her and dispel any concerns. She confessed her love for poring over atlases, sharing that although she relished exploring travel journals and guidebooks, she wasn't particularly fond of venturing outside. Lily, who preferred the comfort of her home, emphasized her infrequent outings, averaging about 2 times a year at most. Assuring Jer that he could trust her, she insisted there was nothing to fret about. Despite Lily's assurances, Jer harbored lingering worries, his mind drifting back to a time when his master had duped him into boarding a luxurious passenger ship, thrusting him into a perilous battle against an overwhelming number of colossal squid monsters. Reflecting on this past experience, Jer recognized that the key to easing his anxieties lay in moving forward. Lily took the lead, and fueled by their newfound strength and vitality, the duo descended an impressive 50 floors within a single month. Walking happily, they remained oblivious to the fact that, In their descent, they were straying further from their intended exit, deep into the labyrinthine depths they sought to escape. Jur and Lily hadn't reached the surface yet. They had crafted a makeshift hand cart, with Lily comfortably seated on it while Jur diligently pushed it forward. Curious about Jur's well-being, Lily inquired if he was okay and if she felt too heavy. Despite the strain, Jur concealed his pain, attempting to project strength, explaining that it was just another form of training. Lily, looking at Jur with innocence, thought he meant she was heavy, but Jur, determined not to falter, insisted it wasn't enough for training, sensing his muscles weakening with each word spoken. Smiling sweetly, Lily and Jur pressed on, with Jur growing more exhausted and soaked in sweat while Lily nonchalantly enjoyed the ride, engaging in casual conversation. Lily exclaimed that they had climbed quite a lot, remarking on the depth of the labyrinth. She pondered about the holy knights, expressing concern about their potential displeasure at her sudden disappearance. Lily wondered aloud how she would apologize to them upon her return, anticipating that everyone would be quite upset with her. Lily kept chattering away, and as Jur exerted all his might to push the cart, attempting to seem tough, beads of sweat dripped down his face while he panted heavily. Finally, he halted abruptly, catching his breath, and declared to Lily that there was something on his mind he needed to share. Puzzled, Lily inquired about it, prompting Jur to let out a scream. They were lost once again. As the realization of being lost sank in, Jur reflected on the considerable height from which he had fallen. However, he hadn't fathomed it would be this extensive, and he couldn't believe that the descent had taken them to a depth where climbing for 4 months wouldn't bring them back to the surface. Lily, finding the notion implausible, insisted it couldn't be true, but Jur, overwhelmed with panic, continued to shout. He admitted that acknowledging one's mistakes is challenging, but it was time to face the fact that they might be proceeding recklessly along an entirely unfamiliar path. Lily appeared worried as she shared with Jur that there were 2 kinds of people with a poor sense of direction. The first type, she explained, keeps going down a genuinely wrong path. However, Lily assured Jur that they weren't like that because, on their journey, they made choices based on intuition, and the likelihood of 2 individuals both having such a poor sense of direction seemed astronomically low, nearly impossible. Despite Lily's comforting words, Jur remained in a state of panic, expressing his doubt and belief that they might have already overcome challenges with astronomically low chances. Lily continued, describing the second type of person with a poor sense of direction, someone initially on the right path, but overwhelmed with anxiety, intentionally deviating onto the wrong path. Jur questioned whether their current situation reflected this second type, and if he was unintentionally deviating from the right path. Lily agreed, encouraging him by saying that most things would turn out okay in the end if he stuck it out. Jur, still uncertain, asked Lily about the possibility of persevering and achieving nothing. Suddenly, Lily began to hover in the air, glowing like an angel from heaven. She assured Jur that they would return to their original path if they found nothing on their current one. As Jur gazed at the radiant Lily, she pointed out a monster that had appeared behind them, destroying their cart. Quick to defend, Jur unsheathed his sword and effortlessly cut down the monster with a single strike. It was in this moment that Jur realized Lily was right. Having surpassed 120 floors, turning back was no longer an option, and doing so would accomplish nothing. Filled with newfound understanding, Jur humbly bowed to Lily, expressing gratitude for the valuable lesson. Blushing, Lily smiled and exclaimed that he should continue learning and persevering on their challenging journey. Jur and Lily pressed on with their journey, seated in a newly crafted cart fashioned from the shell of the monster they had just defeated. As they encountered yet another fork in the road, they found themselves united in their decision, exclaiming the same direction simultaneously. The clatter of the shell echoed with a resounding assurance as they discarded their lingering doubts and forged ahead. The path they had chosen led them through a ravine untouched by light, descending even deeper into the unknown. It was a daring choice that marked the continuation of their adventure. Despite the challenges they had already faced, Jur and Lily understood that their journey had only just begun. Jur and Lily crafted a simple camp, taking a break to eat. Lily felt unhappy with the food, finding it yucky, but Jur, with his sparkling eyes, happily drank only water. He exclaimed that the water tasted truly fantastic, expressing his satisfaction. Without even trying the food, Jur declared that it was sufficient for him. Annoyed, Lily just stared at Jur while still struggling to finish her fish. Even though neither of them could start a fire, the shelter's living conditions saw a significant improvement when Lily arrived. The presence of clean water and Lily's flawless sanitation magic made a noticeable difference. Once they finished their meal, Lily took Jur's hands, using her sanitation magic to clean them squeaky clean. Jur smiled and thanked Lily, Lily then announced it was time for her to take a nap, asking Jur if he planned to continue training. Expressing genuine gratitude for Lily's help, Jur reflected on how she had assisted him in overcoming the challenging floor boss. As Jur faced the growing challenges of confronting floor bosses, his anxiety heightened, and he realized he relied solely on his strength. Sensing his unease, Lily questioned if she had unintentionally become a nuisance. Jur, however, was adamant about not wanting to feel embarrassed by accepting her help. Annoyed, Lily expressed her frustration, mentioning that she went out of her way to learn magic to help many people. She picked up swamp water and asked Jur if he wanted some. Jur apologized, explaining that if he asked for help, he wanted to work hard to ensure he wouldn't be embarrassed to accept it. He acknowledged the importance of receiving support from others for people to carry on. Jur admitted that swordsmen often tended to think only about themselves and their abilities. Lily, with a smile, teased Jur, stating that he was cute. Sometimes, Jur would start speaking more formally, and Lily found it adorable. She suggested it would be better if he were more direct. Lily continued teasing Jur until he finally asked her to stop and go to sleep already. Leaving the camp with Lily peacefully asleep, Jur walked a little further until he found a secluded spot to sit down. Attempting to meditate, he found his thoughts constantly drifting to Lily, making concentration on his training nearly impossible. The realization struck him that he might be in love with her, and this emotional turmoil was affecting his focus. Recalling his master's advice from 5 years ago, warning against involvement with women due to his own 5 divorces, Jur struggled with conflicting emotions. His master, despite his own marital misfortunes, had asserted the importance of avoiding such entanglements. Jur remembered how his master, after imparting this wisdom, had intensified his training significantly. The weight of his master's words lingered, preventing Jur from getting close to women. Reflecting on the challenging 3 months spent alone in filthy conditions before Lily's arrival, Jur found himself entangled in thoughts of the past. Despite spending a month alone with Lily, he couldn't shake the growing feelings within him. This newfound emotion was unfamiliar to Jur. Recollections of his guardian, who left 3 years ago after injuring his back while fighting a poisonous dragon, came to mind. His guardian had departed on a journey to a secluded hot spring, leaving Jur to fend for himself. Traveling alone, Jur encountered people who identified him as the Dragon Slayer, often challenging him to fights. Among the memories, there was a girl with whom Jur developed a friendship. However, like many others, it turned out to be just another tale of sweat and tears, fading away with time. Despite scolding himself for thinking too much, Jur found himself unable to resist focusing on Lily. Her sweet smile and the endearing habit of holding hands after meals captured his attention. As he contemplated, his thoughts drifted to past solo travels where he was often treated as an apprentice. Now, with the opportunity to be close to a girl he couldn't stop thinking about, Lily, a mix of emotions overcame him. Choosing to divert his attention to training, Jur felt relieved knowing that the monsters couldn't breach their safe zone due to Lily's protective barrier. However, Jur continued grappling with his feelings for Lily. He considered confessing outside the labyrinth but felt confused about Lily's age, unable to discern it due to his eyesight. Attempting to meditate to escape his thoughts, Jur found himself persistently thinking about Lily. He believed that Lily only held his hands after eating because it was necessary for her spell, not because she had feelings for him. Jur saw Lily as a cheerful woman with cute mannerisms, soft hands, and an incredibly pleasant fragrance, questioning if she might even be 80 years old. Jur's concentration shattered when Lily suddenly appeared behind him. Startled, he shouted in shock and asked Lily what was wrong. Lily mocked him, calling him rude for shouting at a young lady. She explained that she thought Jur might get cold when going to sleep, leaving him confused. Lily sat beside him, using her magic to create a warm aura around Jur. Standing up, she assured him it would last for about 10 hours and advised him not to stay up too late. Mesmerized by her charm, Jur suddenly snapped back to his senses and asked Lily how she used her magic without touching his hands. Lily bid him good night and left, leaving Jur in shock, pondering why she touched his hands when casting the sanitation spell after meals. Lily remained silent, continuing to walk away. Kraha abruptly awakens, startled by a nightmare that vividly replays her harrowing experience in the labyrinth and the heart-wrenching moment of losing Jur. It's been 4 months since that haunting event, yet Kraha's everyday routine persists, seemingly untouched by the passage of time. The days unfold in a way that makes it seem as if the labyrinth and Jur's loss were mere figments of her imagination. No updates about the holy nights she encountered have reached her ears. For Kraha, life continues on its predictable course, almost as if the unsettling memories were confined to the realm of a dream that only she holds. The wheel of her daily existence keeps turning, unaffected by the weight of past events, and the only noticeable transformations occur in the shifting seasons. While Kraha was engaged in her usual jogging routine, she unexpectedly came across Holland, a familiar face from her past adventuring party in the park. Curious, she inquired if he, too, was present for independent training. However, Holland revealed that his purpose in the park was different. He was accompanied by his children. They had been expressing concerns about gaining weight lately, prompting Holland to provide companionship for their fitness endeavors. Despite his intentions, Holland recounted that his children, engrossed in their own activities, were not paying much attention to their exercise routine. Holland settled onto a park bench, taking a moment to relax with a smoke, while Kraha continued her warm-up exercises nearby. Noticing her glistening with sweat, Holland inquired about the extent of her daily run. Interested, he learned that Kraha dedicated herself to a workout routine of 5 sets, each consisting of 10 sprints covering various distances. She disclosed her commitment to running at least an hour every day, with today's plan involving 10 challenging uphill runs without any breaks. Impressed by Kraha's determination, Holland complimented her, suggesting that a swift adventure on one's feet was commendable. However, he expressed concern, cautioning her to be mindful of not overtaxing her body. He shared his belief that many issues could be resolved at the church, albeit with a note of caution about its limitations in more serious matters. Observing the increased activity around the church, Kraha pondered the unusual sight in the town. Speculating that it wasn't the church's usual behavior, she questioned whether there were more knights present than usual. As they watched church carriages passing by, Holland remarked that the heightened activity was not a new occurrence. He noted that church adherents were accustomed to early mornings but sensed an increased effort, perhaps related to something significant that the church had discovered. Holland pointed out the opulent carriages, an uncommon sight in their town that had only begun appearing the previous month. It piqued their curiosity, leading them to wonder whether the church had uncovered something noteworthy, causing this surge in activity. Holland explained that the church used to start their day early and had always put in a lot of effort. Kraha had heard that the church usually took action only in situations like preventing the resurrection of the fallen king. Wondering if she was overthinking it, she hoped their involvement wouldn't turn into something significant. As Holland's kids came rushing in, shouting and playing, Holland stood up. Saying his goodbyes to Kraha, they delved into discussions about the uncertainties of life. Holland shared his concerns about the delicate nature of beautiful and honest things, fearing they might be damaged someday. Wishing her luck on her journey, he believed she would evolve into a much better adventurer than he ever was. One evening, the holy knight, Arlinit, came to visit Kraha at her home. Kraha felt curious about why Arlinit wanted to talk and sensed a hint of concern in the air. As they sipped on tea, memories flooded back, and they both recalled their initial meeting through Lily, who introduced Arlinit and Kraha to each other. Being a part of the Holy Knights, Arlinit inquired about what happened to their party and if they had given up on raiding the abyss. Kraha was surprised to hear this, and when Arlinit probed further, Kraha admitted that they hadn't informed her about their decision. Arlinit then shared that, when she directly asked Godach about the situation, he revealed that he had already given up on the raid. Arlinit found it puzzling, wondering what could lead a party that had climbed so far to abandon the mission so easily, especially after just one attempt where they hadn't lost a single party member. This revelation startled Kraha, and she realized that Jur was never officially registered with the party. As Arlinit tried to make sense of the situation, she considered that perhaps, like their party, Kraha's group might have faced some challenges. However, it seemed illogical to abandon the entire raid after just one offensive push. Deep in thought, Kraha began to believe that Godach's sole objective was to eliminate Jur. Lost in her contemplation, Kraha wondered why Godach felt the need to kill Jur. Her mind was a whirlwind of questions, and when Arlinit called her name, Kraha responded anxiously, suggesting that the mysterious origin of the threat might have been an unknown danger from the very beginning. Kraha affirmed her understanding, acknowledging that a similar occurrence had taken place in her party. Arlinit then proceeded to recount a comparable incident experienced by the Holy Knights during their descent into the labyrinth. They had lost track of one of the 4 saints, Lilila, who became ensnared in a teleportation trap. The dungeon itself presented an air of strangeness, and the events following Lilila's disappearance remained unclear. As Arlinit contemplated the situation, she drew parallels to traps activated by specific magic circles. She highlighted a particular trap that unexpectedly activated when the saint walked on it, despite its worn-down appearance and the assumption that it shouldn't have functioned. These traps, she explained, weren't intricate enough to target specific individuals, leaving her perplexed by the failure of unknown origin. Arline firmly believed that something within the labyrinth was amiss, especially given that the four saints had been tasked with investigating it. This conviction led her to express a pressing need to converse with Kraha about the unfolding mysteries. Worried by the hushed atmosphere within Kraha's party and the sudden choice to abandon the mission, Arline persistently probed Kraha for answers. Her curiosity extended to understanding why the other members of the party remained tight-lipped and what led the particular individual to surrender the quest. Arline, eager to unravel the mystery, expressed a keen interest in the deceased friend that Kraha had referenced during her conversation with Lilila, desiring more details about the circumstances surrounding this unfortunate event. A lovely individual had a recent meeting with Kraha in a lively restaurant. Kraha noticed the person's friendly attitude and thought about how pretty they were. She wondered whether the person was a man or a woman. The person chose to sit with Kraha at the table and asked about the most delicious items on the menu. Kraha reminisced about the previous night when she met Arline, who was also remarkably beautiful. She attempted to establish a connection, but her thoughts were abruptly interrupted by the person sitting very close to her and smiling. Kraha presumed it was the person's first time at the restaurant and was confident that any choice would be tasty. She specifically highlighted the excellence of the meat dishes, suggesting the hamburger steak meal as a reliable option for a newcomer. Despite this, the person asked for another recommendation, indicating familiarity with the place. Kraha then suggested the special featuring 3 servings of pork cutlet and unlimited rice refills, expressing some reservations about finishing such a hearty meal. However, the person confidently ordered the special and even opted for 2 servings, stating it was exactly what he desired to hear. In providing a unique perspective on the special, Kraha explained that the owners intentionally crafted it to leave patrons feeling almost on the brink of bursting as they exited the restaurant. She underscored that this design was a tangible expression of the owner's love and dedication to delivering a memorable dining experience. Intriguingly, the person, with a mischievous glint in his eye, injected a playful note by mentioning that the owners might be a little upset if someone ordered 2 servings but left anything on their plate. As the orders arrived, 2 towering mountains of food graced the table, and the person couldn't contain their excitement, sporting a wide smile. Kraha found herself in shock at the sight of the abundant feast, while the chefs in the kitchen couldn't help but burst into laughter. Undeterred, the person unsheathed their chopsticks and reassured everyone not to worry, proudly declaring themselves a glutton. With remarkable speed, the person dove into the mountain of food, astonishing everyone, including Kraha, as they devoured both servings. The chefs, impressed by this culinary feat, bowed down to the person, who acknowledged their admiration with a satisfied grin. Unfazed by the impressive display, the person announced their intention to try what Kraha had ordered and seamlessly transitioned into inquiring about her choice. Despite feeling a bit nervous, Kraha revealed that she had opted for a lighter meal, choosing only noodles due to her limited appetite. The person, undeterred by the contrast in meal sizes, continued their culinary exploration with a casual curiosity. When it came time to settle the bill, the person called over the owner to express gratitude for the delightful meal, not only to Kraha but to everyone involved. As they left with a mysterious smile, they assured everyone that they would take care of settling the debts themselves. Deep within the labyrinth, Lily and Jur found themselves relaxing and engaged in a lively game of thumb wrestling. Out of the blue, their calm moment was interrupted by the unexpected arrival of another person. The mere presence of someone else in the labyrinth startled them, making them ponder how this person ended up here. They speculated that perhaps the newcomer had become lost, and they optimistically assumed that this person was likely a good soul. This mysterious individual, brimming with excitement, introduced himself as Unis. He assured Lily and Jur that he had no sinister intentions. However, despite his assurance, both Jur and Lily couldn't help but express their skepticism. They exclaimed that Unis appeared remarkably suspicious, casting doubt on his claim of innocence. Seated together by the campfire, Unis, Jur, and Lily, their suspicion lingering, continued to find Unis peculiar. When Jur explained about his broken glasses, preventing him from recognizing faces, Unis responded with an exclamation, expressing understanding about the unrecognized faces. Jur, confused by Unis' reaction, noticed the crackling fire, a sight unfamiliar to the labyrinth. Overwhelmed with joy and emotion, Jur and Lily couldn't contain their tears, blending laughter with their sobs. Amidst the warmth of the fire, Unis calmly joined them, creating a comforting atmosphere. As he skillfully initiated the process of starting the fire, Jur and Lily, lying near the comforting flames, felt a soothing sense of relief. However, Unis gently requested them to wait before engaging in further conversation, explaining that he could start a fire anytime. contemplating how to engage them in conversation. Yunis began by mentioning the Kraha of Future Plan and the Holy Knight's 4th Squad Captain Arlinit. Instantly, Jur and Lily sat up, startled. Curious, Lily questioned how Yunis knew that name. Without directly answering her question, Yunis identified himself as the Archmage of the Stars Yunis, a solo seeker on a mission. The revelation from Yunis left both Jur and Lily in a state of shock, as they hadn't expected such significant connections between them. Lily mentioned that Yunis is famous for being the youngest registered Archmage in history, and Yunis agreed with a smile. Yunis also addressed Jur as the Great Slayer of the Toxic Dragon and Lily as the island's saving saint, Lilila. Even Jur and Lily were shocked to learn this about each other. Yunis asked them what they had been doing all this time, and he smiled brightly, suggesting they must have been having so much fun catching fish, drinking tasty water, and thumb wrestling. Jur thought Yunis was completely weird but curious about Yunis' journey. Both Lily and Jur inquired about how he arrived at their current location. Yunis explained that it was relatively easier for him compared to them. He utilized a magic circle that had teleported Lily from the 4th floor, enabling him to follow their trail. Jur and Lily were amazed, but Yunis insisted that he should be the one amazed because they weren't satisfied with simply surviving. They had managed to delve to these depths with just each other. Jur slowly realized what they had done and screamed, saying that he knew they were descending. Lily looked at him completely mortified and nervously said to count it as a valuable learning experience. Jur felt heartbroken, expressing that he always agrees to everything, and the person who listens to him is also at fault. However, Lily took another stab at him, saying that everyone should take responsibility for their own actions. Jur was now completely shut down, thinking that he was the one who started going in the wrong direction in the first place. He believed he and Lily shared equal responsibility for their travels together, but everything prior to that was all his own fault. If Lily decided to point that out, he might grovel on his knees. The trio continued discussing their situation, prompting Lily and Jur to ask Yunis if he had come to rescue them. However, Yunis viewed them as adventurers who had become stranded due to a higher-level floor boss. Acknowledging his own miscalculation about their sense of direction, he recognized their poor senses and laughed at the ironic twist of their adventure. As they talked, Yunis shared more about himself, mentioning that he knows both of them too. He described Jur as the innocent swordsman hero who slayed the toxic dragon in an eastern country, preventing it from dissolving a forest. He also spoke of Lilila, the saint who saved an island from sinking by erecting a barrier to protect it from a raging storm. Yunis asked if they knew anything about him, and Lily remembered, mentioning that he is the one who created a new kind of magic or something. Yunis agreed and began to show off, creating bright streaks of light with his finger. He explained that his magic draws power from the stars, leaving Jur frozen after hearing about this extraordinary power. Yunis proudly mentioned that he holds the title of Archmage, and even in a place where the light of the stars doesn't reach, like their current location, he can still use that power to some extent. Jur, overwhelmed, asked Yunis to get to the point already. Finally, Yunis admitted that in a place like this, his power is reduced by 80%, rendering him completely useless. The swordsman with a poor sense of direction, the clergy with a poor sense of direction, and a new mage formed a complete set of idiots, yet the trio continued their journey through the labyrinth. After 3 weeks of being stranded on the floor, they eventually encountered a massive door with a mysterious magic circle carved on its surface. The black magic circle made it challenging to decipher, prompting Lily to request Yunis to transcribe it. Using water to fill the depressions on the surface of the door and pressing it against the ground, Yunis ensured the shape remained unchanged. Lily, upon reading the transcribed magic circle, unveiled its connection to an apocryphal beast. She revealed that this labyrinth was likely built by someone linked to the fallen king. The Rasti religion possessed scriptures distinct from the well-known Apocrypha. These unique scriptures served a special purpose, steering away from moralistic teachings and narrative tales. Instead, they intricately detailed the ancient story of a king who aimed to annihilate God and engaged in a fierce battle with the apostle of God, Rasti. In Yunis' perspective, both Lily and Jur demonstrated a poor sense of direction, prompting him to join their group. Over the past 4.5 months, they navigated the labyrinth, often meandering without a clear direction. During this time, they not only defied the prevailing wind but also successfully defeated several floor bosses. The possibility arose that, instead of moving against the wind, they might have unintentionally rushed headlong with it. The creatures encountered in the labyrinth were identified as apocryphal beasts. Some theories suggested that these creatures might actually be fallen king beasts, a part of the fallen king. As the group continued their journey, the mysteries of the labyrinth unfolded, revealing a connection between the scriptures of the Rasti religion and the creatures they encountered. However, details about the king's battle with Apostle Rasti were deliberately omitted for the time being. Legends describe these beasts as exceptionally formidable, with one of the greater beasts possessing the strength to rival an entire country. It's mentioned that it took an entire army to defeat just one lesser beast. Unis emphasized that what he conveyed about their encounters in battles was not a fabrication or an exaggeration. The creature they cut down previously, known as the Nightmare and considered a lesser one, looked like a horse. This raised a question, and Jur asked why there were still lesser beasts present. Unis expressed the belief that these creatures were supposed to have been eradicated by Raza, Apostle Rasti, a considerable time ago. The presence of these beasts now posed a mystery, raising questions about their origin and the possibility of the fallen king's involvement. As the group delved deeper into the labyrinth, the enigma surrounding the lingering presence of these creatures heightened, creating an atmosphere thick with anticipation and uncertainty. Unis contemplated whether the presence of these creatures and the magical anomalies in the labyrinth suggested a truth to the legends, indicating that some beasts still existed or that the fallen king might have created this situation. He leaned towards the notion that was close to the truth. The magic circle on the door, as mentioned in the Apocrypha, emerged as a significant detail in his considerations. He revealed that this magic circle was crafted from holy magic specifically associated with Rasti. Notably, this information was only found in 7 copies of the Apocrypha. Additionally, Lily refrained from using the term apostle when referring to Rasti because she believed she was uncomfortable with people addressing her in such a manner. Lily explained that the magic circle was not a typical one, it served as a protective spell. Its function extended beyond keeping outsiders from entering. It also prevented whatever was inside from getting out. Jur suggested caution, emphasizing that if it was a spell, breaking it might not be the best course of action. In contrast, Unis remained confident that there must be a key to breaking the spell, expressing a belief shared by Lily. They all reached an agreement that there had to be a key to unlock the magic circle, signifying a shared determination to move forward despite the protective enchantments in place. The uncertainty surrounding Rasti's magical abilities became a topic of discussion among the group. Lily questioned whether a person of Rasti's caliber should have been able to create perfect magic that could still be broken by a holy magic user of a certain level. In response, Unis expressed his belief that the labyrinth was somehow connected to the fallen, suggesting that it may have become a conduit for holy magic or that another such user not subordinate to the fallen might be involved. The conversation led to the realization that something significant was at play, but Unis admitted that he had no idea what it was. Jur, overwhelmed with frustration, smashed his face on the ground and declared he was going to sleep. However, Unis quickly intervened, revealing that he was just joking, and he pleaded with Jur to stay, preventing him from leaving. Unis, curious about Jur's knowledge of the labyrinth due to his adventurer status, questioned him. Jur, despite being an adventurer, confessed that he didn't know much about it. Unis clarified that he wasn't an adventurer himself but an outsider hired to understand the monster's strength in the labyrinth. Surprisingly, Unis disclosed that Jur wasn't even a registered adventurer. This revelation made Jur angry, leading him to vent his frustration on Godach. The group began to suspect that Godach might have had a plan involving Jur from the very beginning. Despite Jur being one of the strongest swordsmen of his time, he disagreed with this assessment. However, Unis insisted on Jur's strength, highlighting his feat of defeating one of the strongest apocryphal beasts. He emphasized that Jur accomplished this without his glasses, portraying him as a formidable force. Unis suggested that Jur could beat anyone and had become even stronger during the 4 months spent in the labyrinth. Unis proposed a new direction for the group, suggesting they explore a mysterious door they hadn't considered before. Jur, originally intending to conquer the labyrinth but faced with unforeseen circumstances, found himself descending further into its depths. He couldn't immediately refuse the new proposal. Lily expressed concern about the prolonged disappearance and the worry it might cause among their acquaintances. However, Unis reassured them, claiming to have considered everything and ensuring that no one would be worried for at least half a year. Unis passionately advocated for delving deeper into the labyrinth, proposing that they explore its lower floors and then use teleportation spells to return to the surface. The ultimate goal was to reach the hidden core of the labyrinth, an immense source of mana located on the deepest level. He disclosed that the 3 old saints had tasked him with investigating the suspicious core, despite his initial reluctance to gather the strength needed for such a perilous journey. Jur and Lily, who had previously reached the deepest level on their own, now found themselves accompanied by Unis. He shared that the three saints had warned of an evil presence, and there were numerous ominous predictions from the Magic Federation. Once again, Unis asked if they were willing to help him. Lily immediately agreed, expressing gratitude for Unis rescuing them, and Jur also concurred. As they debated on which direction to take, they resorted to rock, paper, scissors, yet still found themselves in a state of confusion. Unis suggested a different approach. They would each choose a different direction, and whoever reached the destination first would become the guide. After 3 hours, Unis arrived, followed by Jur after 5 hours, and Lily, with a triumphant smile, arrived after 8.5 hours, relieved that she had successfully made it back. Now, standing before the magic door that had obstructed their path, it creaked open with a grave sound, revealing the way to the deepest level of the labyrinth. After a month of successful adventures, Unis decided to stick close to their guide to better familiarize themselves with the surroundings. Out of nowhere, a monster appeared, and Jur tried to confront it. However, Unis quickly adapted and took control of the situation. Using their mastery of magic, Unis transformed the rain into radiant beams of light, impressively. The group then enjoyed several days without encountering any monsters. Despite the monster-free days, Jur's frustration grew as he found himself unable to draw his sword, feeling genuinely ineffective. On the contrary, Lily considered the absence of monsters a positive development. She emphasized that it reduced the risk of anyone in the party getting hurt. Moreover, her sanctuary barrier didn't seem particularly necessary, as Unis could craft something similar. Their shared use of light created a comparable protective aura. Jur, feeling frustrated and jealous of Unis, chimed in. Jur spoke of his secret sword technique linked to stars and the moon. However, Unis responded by telling Jur not to say something so sad. Sensing Jur's loneliness and wanting to ease it, it marked the first time Jur had walked alongside two people nearly his age. He expressed his pleasure at meeting them. Lily complimented Unis, calling him cute, which made him happy. Deep down, he was ecstatic, comparing the experience to being on a field trip. Jur joined in the excitement, thinking they now had triple the power. It was the first time Jur had walked alongside two individuals nearly the same age, and it was wonderful for him to meet these people. Reflecting on his past, he shared that he had delved into the Grand Library at a young age, missing out on opportunities like this. He supposed it's the type of place he had never seen anyone else his age explores. In Unis's case, he was able to gain entry because his master had close ties to the Grand Library. It's genuinely uncommon for someone to venture into the heart of a location like that, especially considering it's the most challenging labyrinth. It was impossible not to be cautious. Unis wasn't feeling overly positive when he insisted that our party was the strongest. The way things were going for us seemed quite natural. In fact, it would have been more frightening if we held back. Objectively speaking, we were the best. If we had failed to navigate through the labyrinth, it would have suggested that humanity hadn't yet reached the peak of its abilities. Unis, however, refrained from boasting about it. The price of our talent, he pointed out, showed itself in our remarkably poor sense of direction. As they stopped to camp and rest, Unis, contributing to the conversation, expressed curiosity about the situation. She believed that their party was practically the best in our respective fields. There was a shared belief that they should naturally have reached this point in due time. Jur added that the boss on the 3rd floor was excessively formidable, and there was a genuine fear of facing death. Assuming it was just hearsay, that particular encounter was one of the scariest. During their discussion, Unis confessed to his companions about the monster. He described it as different from a nightmare but equally formidable even before its transformation. Lily, having undergone a similar experience, shared her account despite encountering skepticism. Later, their attention shifted when Jur led them to a black door, the entrance to the deepest floor of the hardest labyrinth. This door took 10 days to unseal, and 2 days after that, fate claimed the lives of 2 among the trio. Meanwhile, Kraha sat outside her burnt-down house, gazing at it with sadness. In that moment, a fellow party member, Holland, approached, handing her an envelope. Concerned, he felt sorry that her house was burned. He further inquired about her well-being. Kraha, who was doing clerical work at the party lodging, reassured him that she was unharmed. He questioned whether the Holy Knight had investigated, noting that a Holy Knight should have examined the situation. Holland suggested a potential connection, revealing that Godach had disappeared the previous night. Despite the group's efforts, they hadn't found any traces of him. Holland advised Kraha to distance herself from the situation and leave the party. Reports indicated that an archmage, specifically one associated with the stars, had entered the abyss. Reflecting on the party's history, Holland admitted that their party was of a rank, and, to be honest, Godach elevated that party's rank with his magic sword. Holland expressed reservations about forcefully raiding the abyss and emphasized the changed dynamics within the party after Godach acquired that magic sword. Holland conveyed to Kraha that there might be more to the story, prompting her to inquire about the other party members. However, he responded that they couldn't leave, having become subservient to Godach when he picked up the sword. Despite this, they had things they needed to protect. Holland urged Kraha not to become entangled in their collective regrets, emphasizing that it was too early for her to suffocate from her own remorse. In that moment, Arlinid arrived and asked Holland to tell him everything. Holland revealed that their party wasn't like this before, and its nature had transformed from what it once was. Reflecting on his time, Holland reminisced about the past. Once upon a time, Godach used to be a good leader. Back in the day, their party had the best moments during a B-rank party. The members of the current lineup joined during that time, and they couldn't fully show their strength with other groups. Their party acted like a rehab center for members, thanks to Godach's special ability. One day, Kraha asked Holland why Godach had betrayed one of his allies. Holland explained that picking up a magical sword triggered a change in Godach, who used to be a decent guy. Kraha was curious about the origin of Godach's magic sword. According to Holland, Godach found it on the middle floor of an Arank labyrinth. This labyrinth resembled the deep ocean with high salinity water all around. Despite the lack of detailed knowledge, Holland admitted the confusion about finding a sword in such a place. Normally, labyrinths weren't considered special spots for discovering artifacts. Those looking for such items typically explored prehistoric ruins. Holland figured that Godach might have assumed the sword was just something left behind by a deceased individual in an Arank labyrinth. When a party either perished or retreated, they usually left supplies or belongings behind. However, a magical sword, being the most valuable possession, wouldn't be discarded during a retreat. This led Holland to believe it must have belonged to someone who had passed away. After obtaining the magic sword, Godach's party earned certification as an S-rank party, overcoming their previous limitation of lacking combat strength. However, something appeared off about Godach since then. Despite knowing him for a long time, Holland sensed this change. He had even prepared to resign from the party due to his commitment to protecting his family. Unexpectedly, Godach appeared at Holland's home, sitting with his children and expressing anticipation for many more years of collaboration. This left Holland in fearful agreement. Despite being aware of Godach's concerning actions, Holland chose silence to protect his family. When Godach did the same with Jur, a similar silence prevailed, but caution lingered when discussing the matter. For several days, Holy Knights patrolled the vicinity of their houses. Although these incidents seemed unrelated to them, the church took action, suspecting a connection between the fallen king and the ongoing situation. Holland found this revelation shocking, as he had always perceived the fallen king as nothing more than a fairy tale. The involvement of apocryphal scriptures puzzled him in light of the current events. Kraha, too, was surprised to learn that the fallen king might still be present, wondering how he could be connected to recent occurrences. The three saints in the Magic Federation shared similar premonitions and suspicions, including the possible involvement of an archmage. While the idea that Godach might be connected to the fallen king remained a hypothesis, as they closely monitored the situation. They speculated that the magic sword capable of reducing things to nothingness had ties to the fallen king. Suddenly, they felt tremors and heard strange noises, prompting them to rush outside. Within the labyrinth, an instrumental apocryphal beast was shattered by Jur. Ever since they passed through that second door, Jur noticed that these beasts were notably stronger. The quality of the beasts had changed drastically, and they seemed undaunted by Uni's high-level magic. These creatures surpassed anything they had encountered before, and the sheer power of one of these beasts, if unleashed outside the labyrinth, could easily destroy a small village. As they ventured deeper, they pondered the total number of floors, estimating almost 200 in total. With their current progress, they believed they were nearing the end. Fueled partly by Lily's hunch, Jur felt a sense of belonging with Unis. To him, being with reliable companions made the journey feel like home, and he expressed a desire to go through it many times. He acknowledged that he wouldn't have made it this far without them. While not underestimating the power of other adventurers, he believed it was the three of them who could delve the deepest into the labyrinth. Unis wished he had joined the adventure earlier, finding his companions adorable despite their ongoing banter. Lily proposed writing letters to each other once they're outside. Jur acted confused, and Lily playfully tapped Jur's nose with her finger, claiming her writing would leave him trembling in surprise. Jur started to blush, while Eunice burst into laughter, tears filling his eyes. Their journey continued until they reached another door. Despite the fatigue in their legs, they opened it together with the familiar phrase, "Open Sesame." As the trio opened the door, Jur quickly spotted the radiant flash emanating from the other side of the door and instinctively shoved Eunice aside. However, a portion of his own body melted away from the intense brightness. To their astonishment, a colossal bird-like creature, oddly resembling a familiar Pokémon, materialized before them. The monstrous bird swiftly advanced, aiming another powerful energy beam directly at them, not allowing them a chance to step through the doorway. In a courageous move, Lily hurried forward, brandishing her shield in an attempt to shield them from the formidable beam. Yet, the energy proved too overwhelming, shattering her shield into countless pieces. Now, only Jur remained standing, determined to muster his magical abilities. He charged at the monstrous bird, making a valiant effort before ultimately facing his own obliteration. Out of nowhere, a mysterious voice echoed, proclaiming, "To the east, you must fall." Abruptly, time began to reverse itself. A mere second rewound, yet within Jur's shattered form and fading awareness, a singular constant remained, his soul hurtling toward a brilliant light on the verge of explosion. In a desperate reach, Jur extended his hand as if striving to seize hold of that ethereal essence. Assuming a stance meticulously envisioned, visualized, and tested countless times, he unleashed his ultimate technique, the clandestine sword art known as the Moon Dream. With a swift stroke, he expertly cleaved the colossal boss in half. Jur stood in a state of shock, utterly bewildered by the whirlwind of recent events. The sudden appearance of the boss upon entering the room had caught him off guard, and he felt a peculiar sensation in his hand. Meanwhile, Eunice lay on the ground, visibly wounded and drained. Lily, with urgency in her voice, urged him not to move or speak. Eunice, however, believed that his current state was a punishment for his pride, thinking he had overexerted himself with magic. As Jur reflected on the situation, still grappling with the question of what had just happened, Eunice began to explain. He revealed that he had used a new technique he had recently discovered, a technique that played a crucial role in his certification as an archmage. Typically, this technique required meticulous attention to star alignment and extensive preparations. However, this time, Eunice had forced it, allowing them to rewind time but only for a brief period. Eunice expressed satisfaction that Jur was able to defeat the formidable beast within the narrow window of time he provided. Despite their intense struggle, it became apparent that Eunice's self-sacrificial act was not in vain. His protection had enabled Lily to complete the incantation, ensuring their collective survival. However, the cost to Eunice was severe. His organs had suffered significant damage as a consequence of utilizing the technique in an area devoid of mana for stars, the very life force that powered this extraordinary magic. The toll on him caused his insides to burst, akin to a balloon reaching its limits. Faced with the dire aftermath, Lily swiftly stepped forward, invoking her healing magic to mend Eunice's battered form. As her magical energies worked to restore him, Eunice, once on the brink of suffering, expressed his gratitude to Lily for her timely intervention. Jur, recognizing Eunice's selfless sacrifice, also conveyed his appreciation, expressing heartfelt thanks to Eunice for preventing an immediate tragedy. Jur felt upset when he realized that beating the floor bosses wasn't as easy as before because of the awakening effect. He wasn't sure why it happened. Eunice, too, wondered if the time reversal came from the experiences they had gathered, even though it wasn't clear. There was something called experience, familiar to folks like them, whether in a life or death situation or a moment of deep understanding. This wonder happened instantly when overcoming challenges, like when a mage discovered a significant truth. These moments were marked by something called experience. When someone faced challenges, they experienced a sudden increase in their abilities and entered a state known as awakening for a short time. During this period, they could achieve incredible feats that were once unthinkable. The crucial strike Jur made, changing the course of the battle, was thought to be a result of this marvel. Moreover, the continued rise in their rank allowed them to undergo significant and extreme growth, propelling them to a completely different level than before. Although it was still possible to gain such power through normal growth, the time needed for this accomplishment was significantly shortened by the presence of the experience. This experience deeply influenced a person's true proficiency in swordsmanship and magecraft. After experiencing the experience, Jur noticed a significant increase in his abilities, even though the effects of awakening had already faded. Now, he believed his power level was similar to that of his master when they defeated the toxic dragon. He was confident in his ability to survive an encounter with a floor boss of that magnitude. However, he realized that achieving this without the awakening effect was challenging. When he was split into two by a beam of light, it wasn't due to carelessness but rather a stark demonstration of his vulnerability against a strength level that swatted him aside like a mere insect. The reality was that Jur remained relatively inexperienced compared to the vastness of the world around him, and it might take some time to navigate his way back to the surface. From Uni's perspective, this situation seemed more preferable to actually reaching the surface. Lily shared a similar sentiment, but her concern lingered. The floor boss Jur had vanquished was an apocryphal beast, exceptionally powerful even though it was considered a middle-tier creature, and had below-average direct combat ability. Orchestras, a magical species of birds, existed in a lower order, taking on the form of instrumentals. These avian creatures attacked in coordinated flocks. The challenge with beasts excelling in group battles lay in the formidable support function of their lower-order members, making them particularly challenging to handle. Each of these lower-order creatures represented a middle to lesser form of an apocryphal beast in its own right. Lily pointed to some markings on the floor and said that, according to Rasti, overcoming the commander of these flocks would lead to an easier victory. In the room they entered, there were no instrumental entities present. Apocryphal beasts were always marked with a numerical indicator on their bodies, revealing their species upon inspection. The one they encountered was an orchestra, and the apocryphal beast that took down Jur was a lesser power type, leaving him disheartened. There was concern that they might struggle against a higher-ranked beast, and the possibility of encountering a greater beast made the prospect of turning back seem sensible. The experience, while not particularly convenient, was anticipated to occur 2 or 3 times, causing genuine distress for Jur. Unis inquired if Jur had successfully defeated the third-floor boss. He confirmed that he had indeed defeated the boss, but unfortunately, he fell during the battle when Godot unleashed his magic sword. Remarkably, Jur managed to eliminate the boss while descending. However, a twist occurred when the boss not only perished but also exited the chamber to continue the fight with Jur. When Unis questioned if there was a numerical designation on the boss, Jur noted that it was one of the lesser beasts, surpassing even a nightmare in terms of strength despite being classified as a lesser beast. This revelation indicated that the boss Jur had triumphed over was not the actual third-floor boss, underscoring the escalating power of floor bosses as one delves deeper into the labyrinth. The rule held true without exception. The challenge in defeating floor bosses varied depending on one's capabilities, with the difficulty increasing as one descended through the floors. This implied that the mana within the bodies of these bosses heightened with each subsequent floor. The peculiar aspect of Jur encountering such a formidable opponent on the third floor raised questions. Typically, floor bosses were constrained to their chambers, a rule even followed by the middle apocryphal beasts. In fact, the orchestra did not attack until Jur opened the door. The confusion grew as they thought about how a mysterious beast, even weaker than the one they had just faced, could appear from the boss chamber. To add to the mystery, it changed its appearance to reveal its true form. The simplest idea was that the boss on the third floor was a mysterious beast set free from the rules of the labyrinth. Thinking this way, it seemed like the ties of the labyrinth were getting weaker. Even if this was true, they couldn't keep their magical power outside of the labyrinth. Many years before they were born, there was a mysterious time when the air was filled with magical energy. During that time, these beasts could live beyond the labyrinth, acting as frightening neighbors to humanity. Now, right in front of them, there was indeed a mysterious beast, a terrible creature straight out of the pages of history. It could be said that the mysterious era was coming back to life, with a mysterious beast emerging once again. Jur remained upset throughout the entire conversation. They were contemplating whether the boss on the third floor was a unique case. Some pages from the Apocrypha, a significant book, had been lost due to a fire in the library about 700 years ago. Unfortunately, this fire not only affected the original book but also damaged the 7 books of the first manuscript. From the second manuscript onward, everything became so unclear that it was challenging to discern the truth. When Lily was a child, she had envisioned Rasti as the one who defeated the fallen king. However, this turned out to be untrue. In reality, Rasti had not killed the fallen king. Instead, he had sealed him within this labyrinth. This labyrinth wasn't natural. It was formed by the structure created by Rasti, with an overflow of magical energy from the fallen king, creating a pseudo-labyrinth. The missing pages from the Apocrypha held a possible description of this place, but someone intentionally burned them, and now the ties were weakening. The monsters within were attempting to escape, and the situation was possibly more serious than imagined. The labyrinth seal was on the verge of breaking. The trio gathered to talk about the current situation. their nerves on edge as they learned about the impending break of the labyrinth seal. Jur anxiously inquired about the consequences if the seal were to break. Unis responded, explaining that it wouldn't simply be the end of it all. The apocryphal beasts, not only the middle ones but also the unseen greater beasts bound within the labyrinthine structure, would all be set free simultaneously onto the world's surface. Unis cautioned that if such a thing were to occur, destruction would be inevitable, leaving them all utterly helpless. Lily chimed in, adding another layer to the ominous scenario. She warned that if the fallen king were to awaken, mana would flood the world, leading to the destruction of civilization as they knew it, reminiscent of the way prehistoric civilization met its end. Jur found it hard to grasp the dire situation they were facing, his stomach churning with queasiness and fear. Overwhelmed, Jur cried out, emphasizing that it was crucial for them to retreat and abandon the labyrinth. He insisted that the three of them couldn't keep such vital information to themselves. They needed to escape the labyrinth and urgently share what they had discovered with everyone. Jur declared that their strength, while undeniable, didn't make them the ultimate solution. He urged his companions to set aside their pride and let go of the idea of handling everything on their own. Jur, Lily, and Unis all felt trapped and powerless, pondering their next move. Jur, in particular, suddenly realized something that filled him with terror. Anxious, he questioned if they were running out of time. Unis, with a sense of urgency, revealed that a total solar eclipse was approaching. This day, he explained, marked the densest concentration of mana, and Unis feared that the seal might break at that very moment. Alternatively, he mused, someone on the surface might initiate a move. Jur, despite his fear, found a glimmer of hope as he considered the surface. Unis, catching on to Jur's thoughts, mentioned a cathedral in the city that had always intrigued him due to its apparent strength. It dawned on Jur, and Unis confirmed that someone planned to destroy the cathedral. Lily, piecing things together, agreed that it was a plausible scenario. Perhaps, she suggested, a devotee of the fallen king had preemptively eliminated a powerful swordsman who had approached the city, ensuring the smooth execution of their plan. The revelation added a layer of complexity to their predicament, leaving them with more questions than answers. The realization hits Jur that Godach must be the one scheming to destroy the cathedral in the city. Unis, detecting the failure in Godach's plan, suggests that it's time for them to make a move. Unis, acknowledging his distorted sense of time, estimates that the solar eclipse is slated to occur 3 days from now at noon. Uncertain about the number of floors remaining in their descent, he emphasizes the urgency of resealing the place before they lose everything. Jur, feeling defeated and weary, receives a reassuring message from Lily. She assures him that this situation has nothing to do with him. Confused, Jur gazes at Lily, who explains that both she and Unis came for a mission, and if either of them leaves, they won't be able to reseal the fallen king. Jur realizes his dispensability. Despite the uncertainty of their survival, Lily explains that reaching this point guarantees encounters with even greater threats. Beyond this juncture, survival won't hinge on life or death struggles. Instead, only unavoidable death awaits them. The weight of the perilous journey ahead sinks in, leaving the trio to grapple with the ominous future that lies beneath. Jur shudders with fear at the ominous thought, a chill running down his spine. Lily, acknowledging the gravity of the situation, bows down to him, expressing gratitude for escorting her and Unis thus far. She smiles warmly, assuring Jur that he has gone far enough. Lost in thought, Jur reflects on his experiences in the dungeon, recognizing his own vulnerability. Without his glasses, he feels incapable of fighting properly, a realization that weighs heavily on him. He fears the potential loss of his own life or the inability to protect his friends. In the midst of his contemplation, Unis interrupts, bringing Jur back to reality. Unis, acknowledging the urgency of their situation and the impending solar eclipse, expresses the magnitude of the journey ahead. Despite knowing that Jur may not have a personal reason to fight, Unis earnestly pleads with him to risk his life for the greater cause, to save the world and lead them to the deepest level of the dungeon. Jur's heart pounds, and his body trembles at the daunting prospect of delving deeper into the labyrinth, weighed down by the impending responsibility. Despite the fear gnawing at him, he summons the courage to rise, extending his hand in agreement. Acknowledging his lack of prowess in many areas, Jur admits that swinging a sword is the only skill he possesses, a fact that surprisingly elates him. Lily, seeking reassurance, asks Jur once more if he is sure about taking on this challenge. In response, Jur smiles and reveals a vulnerability, admitting to a poor sense of direction. He expresses the belief that without someone by his side, he might never see the sky again. Lily, expressing gratitude, thanks Jur, and both she and Unis grasp his hand. Jur, momentarily forgetting his initial purpose in entering the labyrinth, regains clarity. The three young adventurers press on with their journey. Although their steps are not as light as they once were, a glimmer of hope seems to pervade their determination, propelling them forward into the unknown depths of the labyrinth.